The ninth verse. Achintya Rupam, inconceivable form. Chinta means thinking. Chinta means you can't think of God. So the best of intellect, the best of the human equipment cannot capture God, as we clearly stated. Suddenly I thought, Sanjay, why are you wearing space shuttle goggles? Can you put that on for a moment, please, so others can see? I thought, am I... Now, please also, can you clarify with your specs on why is that and what is that you're doing? It looks cool on you. Keep it on. You don't cry, it's okay. Unmute him, no? Why we can't? Why is? Try again. Now try.
Hi, Guruji.
You look now from Hari Om, it's become high. So look at the change, because all the goggles have made all the difference.
Right, okay, the superficial outward me has affected the real me.
So illusion has taken over you.
Illusion has taken over me. Actually, that's exactly what's happened. So I'm going to turn these off and place my focus back to where it should be.
No, leave it on. It looks nice on you. What color? One is green, other is red.
3D.
3D. Yeah, we must arrange one for me also. Correct, Adandi? See through you all,
Yeah.
Wonderful, Sanjay. Achintya Rupam. No, with the glasses also you can't see. He thought with the 3D glasses he can see Brahman. You can't see 2D or 3D. It's beyond that. Brahman is not an object of perception, so you can't perceive it through the organs of perception. It is not an object of emotion, so you can't capture God through feelings. It is not an object of thought, so it can't be captured through your intellect. Therefore, he says it's unthinkable. Now, why is it so? Because Brahman is the very subject. It is the very life-giving force which enables the equipments to function. God is best understood as that which enables your perceptible organs, your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. They enable it to see, smell, taste, touch, etc. It enables the mind to feel, it enables the intellect to think. Therefore, since it's the source of these equipments, it can't get to the very source. Therefore, he says, inconceivable form, achintya rupam. The example we had taken was of the battery in a torch. You can't see the make of the battery with the torchlight. Oh, I want to see what is the battery. The moment you remove, there is no light to see the battery, because it's the very source that lends light to the battery. So Brahman is that which lends itself to the body, mind and intellect. Therefore it is achintya rupam, inconceivable form. And then the last couple of descriptive terms which are mentioned in the ninth mantra, the ninth verse. Aditya Varnam. Aditya Varnam means it is effulgent like the sun. Effulgent, throughout the Shastras there is an analogy given to the sun. They compare the sun to the Brahman. So it's effulgent as the sun. Again, the methodology which is being adopted here with reference to this is known as upamana. Upamana is comparison. So you're comparing Brahman to be the sun. So you take the attributes of the sun and bring it to Brahman to understand what Brahman is. An example. So the Brahman is like the sun, effulgent as a sun. So when you say effulgent, self-effulgent means it doesn't need anything else to illuminate. So the sun doesn't need any other source of light to illuminate. So Brahman doesn't need anything else to give life to it. It is the life-giving force. It doesn't need anything else to give life. The body needs life, the mind needs life, matter needs life in a sense, but the life-giving force doesn't need anything. It is self-effulgent. It has got that life in it, just as the sun has got the light innate in it. It is its svabhava, its nature. Point one. Point two is, it is not affected by that which it illumines. The sun is not affected by that which it illumines. It lends its light and luster and brilliance. It is not affected by whatever it illumines. So these are the 2 points perhaps you can take for comparing. Now, what is the second point? The consciousness is responsible even in an atheist. Who is an atheist? Vaishnav, you know who's an atheist? Have you heard this word atheist before? Who's an atheist? Not sure how to define that. Pushpama, who's an atheist? Who doesn't believe in God. Now, is consciousness affected by the claims of an atheist of the non-existence of God? Is consciousness affected? Let's say I'm an atheist and I'm refutely denying the existence of God. Is God or consciousness affected by the claims of an atheist? What is enabling the atheist to say that there is no God? God itself. The intellect of an atheist says, I don't think there's any God because I don't have any tangible proof. I don't believe in anything which is abstract. I want proof. I hit my knuckles on the table, I feel the pain. I can say the table exists. Tell me proof that where God exists. I can't perceive it. I can't understand, so he denies it. There are a bunch of people who don't believe in God. Non-existence. Now that which enables him to claim or establish the non-existence of God is the very God itself. Because without the God enlivening, the intellect can't conceive. So, in that sense, we mean it is not affected by that which it illumines. God is not affected by anything. Like Sumanama is not affected by anything. Correct, Reddy Garu? Too big a statement, okay. We will moderate it a little bit. So the consciousness doesn't need anything for it to enliven, nor is it affected by whatever it enlivens. And the last thing he says, it is beyond darkness, tamasah parastat. Brahman is said to be beyond darkness. Tamasah means darkness, parastat means that which is beyond. It is beyond darkness means beyond ignorance. Oh, that means the moment I have knowledge, can I clinch Brahman? Therefore I'll gain all the possible knowledge and I'll clinch Brahman through knowledge. No, he's saying Brahman is beyond knowledge. Brahman is beyond ignorance. Brahman is beyond the light and the darkness. Tamasah parastat. It is that which illumines your knowledge. It is that which illumines your ignorance. Consciousness is that which illumines your what you know. Consciousness also illumines what you do not know. You remember the simple example we used to take? Can you recall? Sashikanji, Do you recall the simple example we take to communicate this? The consciousness. Sir, are you sitting on the Mount Everest peak or what? So much of breeze is flowing, sir. Where are you, sir?
Guruji, voice is very feeble, unable to hear now. Then it's not good.
Oh, you're not able to hear me now?
Now it is okay. Now it is okay. Question, please.
The question is, example we take to explain the concept. Consciousness is that which illumines your knowledge, the very same consciousness which illumines your ignorance. I think Shashikanji, I think you have some issue. If you, I think you can unmute yourself, mute yourself, sir. You know, I think there is some issue. Others are able to hear me? No, they're able to hear. Ramji, are you able to? Okay. Okay. Right, sir. Everybody giving 1 thumbs up, Harish is giving 2 thumbs up. The example, how consciousness is beyond knowledge and ignorance, is beyond light and darkness. And then we took the example of how to say that consciousness illumines your knowledge and ignorance. Sanjay, you remember the example? You put on your 3D shades, you will instantly be enlightened. The inner eye will open up.
No, I'm trying to think of the example, Guruji. I'm sure it's a simple one, but it's not coming to me straight away. Okay,
I'll help you, but you need to fully cooperate. Will you cooperate with me?
Of course.
Of late, you have not been, so therefore I'm requesting. There's no reason for me to say that. I just simply said that, so don't worry. I'm not serious. For a moment, he got stuck. My God, what is this Guruji saying, you know? Acha, do you know my name?
Yes.
You know my name? Are you sure you know my name?
Yes.
You say yes, you're very sure you know my name. Do you know my grandfather's name?
No.
Sorry?
No.
What no? If somebody is asking a question, you got to answer it in a statement, no?
Okay, no, I don't know your grandfather's name.
You would say, yes, sir, I know your name. How do you know your name? Yes, sir, I know that I know your name. Is it not? How do you say that you know my name? You would say, sir, I know for certain, I've been with you for the last 6 odd months. I know that I know your name. Am I right? Okay, now I ask you, do you know my grandfather's name?
I don't know your grandfather's name. I've never met him. I've never interacted with him.
No, even I didn't meet, forget you meeting him. Okay, so, no, I'm just being practical and frank, upright, you know. So, are you sure that you do not know my grandfather's name?
I'm sure that I don't know your grandfather's name.
So, you would say that I know that I do not know my grandfather's name. How do you know that you do not know my grandfather's name? How do you know that? And sir, I know that I do not know my grandfather's name. Isn't it? So you ad infinitum, you would assert that you know my name. At the same time, you will assert that you know that you do not know my grandfather's name. So what is in it that enlivens your knowing? It also enlivens your ignorance. It's a classic way of explaining how consciousness enlivens your ignorance as well as enlivens your knowledge. So the consciousness is beyond knowledge, consciousness is beyond ignorance. Because all your knowing and unknowing has got nothing to do with the conscience. Kadandi, you may know so many things in life. There's so many things you do not know. You think that does it matter to Brahman? Yes or no? It doesn't matter. It is beyond it. Tamasah parastat. All we need to know is it is beyond the conditioning. It is a pure unconditioned state. It's a state of pure sattva. And Venkatramji will explain to us what that state of pure sattva is. Having reveled in that state last 3-4 months, he shall clarify to us what that pure state of sattva is. Welcome back, sir. Namaskaram. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om, Guruji. Nice to be back.
So what was that state of sattva you were in, sir, all the while?
Performing my duties.
Sorry, sir?
Performing my duties. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you clearly, yes.
Yeah, performing my duties, I said, in the larger interest.
Performing your duties.
Yeah.
Have you performed them well, sir?
Yeah, that's what I think. I have performed to my full potential.
I know that you have performed your duties. I do not know how well you have performed your duties. Now, I'm again back to the concepts of beyond tamasah parastat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it?
You're right. Yeah.
So you are following, sir?
Yes, I am following, Guruji.
But this is all warming up, sir, you know. I don't know whether you're warmed up. Suddenly you're coming and starting to run a marathon.
Yeah, I know.
Could you sit a little behind or adjust your desktop?
No, this is not a desktop. I have some challenge, so I'm logging it from my iPad. Is it okay now?
Yeah, now we can see you. Otherwise, you know, your picture was getting perfect. Right, sir. Good. But just a quick mention, the 9th verse gave us various descriptive terms to meditate on Brahman, because the previous mantra spoke about meditation. So having spoken of meditation, he gives us pointers, indicators, what to meditate. Means where you can give a direction to your thoughts. If your thoughts are not given a direction to ponder, you wouldn't know where to lead it towards, because Brahman is an unknown truth. So these are all arcs, like in mathematics. You have to come to the unknown point X. The unknown point X is, we say, is 2 centimeters from point A, is 3 centimeters from point B, is 6 centimeters from point C. So you use these reference points and keep creating arcs, and where that meeting point is that meeting point X. X is unknown. But you use these points, like, you know, you use, what is that? Protractor, huh? No, the one which has one side, it has a sharp thing and a pencil you put.
Compass.
That's a compass. Huh, Hariji?
Compass. Compass.
Compass. So you take a compass and you put at point A and you draw a large arc. And then point B, which is another point, another arc. You keep drawing arcs, and where the meeting point, that is unknown X, but you know point A, point B, point C, but you don't know point X. That's how these descriptive terms, known terms, help you to identify the unknown X, which is God. How well have I fared, Harishji, in explaining the concept? Hey, don't unmute him. Gayatri, why are you unmuting him? Oh, he himself unmuted, huh? He has got so much rights nowadays. Yes, Harishji. Now having unmuted, he is now not saying anything.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Boliye. So how many marks will give me for that mathematical explanation?
More than 100 on 100.
Oh, would I pass?
More than that.
Oh, more than that. Okay.
Much more than 100.
Oh, much more than that means I'm completely fail. That means total fail. This no, that's what. He's all lying. That means complete lying.
No, sir, I'm only increasing the numerator.
Huh?
I'm only increasing the numerator.
Ama. All right, move on. Verse 10, please. प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् प्रयाणकाले at the time of death. Why does he keep reminding of that to us? Prayana kale. Manasa achala. The mind is unmoving with a steady mind and bhakti, devotion, united by the power of yoga. Yoga balena. So the strength or the power, you are united, yukta, you are united by the power of yoga and by only fixing the prana, which is interpreted as a life breath, perfectly in the middle of the two eyebrows, he reaches the supreme resplendent Purusha. Purusha here refers to the being, the self. Prayana kale, the time of death. Yes, ma. So, Ramji, I want to ask you, what is he referring to at the time of death here? What death?
Namaste, Guruji. I think he is referring to normal death only.
I knew. That's the reason I asked.
But what he is saying is that at that time, if one is... so I didn't follow. Maybe I can ask you a question to take this opportunity.
Huh?
So, this 9 and 10, are they interrelated in the sense that in 9 he has described how to meditate or how to identify yourself with what are the tools by which you can meditate or you can do dhyana. But in verse 10, is it related that if you do all that, then at the time of death you can do this? Is that, or is it an independent one of that?
Sir, if you remember, from the 8th verse to the 14th verse, the thought flow is through ever steadfast yoga and meditation, you reach Brahman. So this is the thought flow from these verses 8 to 14. So in the 8th verse, he said, with unswerving mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga. Ma, can you put on 8th verse, please? Ramji, please read, sir.
Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya gamina.
With English, sir, for now.
Okay, that is good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. With the unswerving mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga and meditating, O Partha, one gets to the supreme resplendent being. Resplendent being.
Ninth.
Whosoever meditates on the omniscient, ancient, all-ruler, minuter than the minute, supporter of all, of inconceivable form, effulgent like the sun, beyond darkness.
10th.
At the time of death, with steady mind and devotion, united by the power of yoga and only by fixing the prana perfectly in the middle of the two eyebrows, he reaches the supreme resplendent Purusha.
Right. Thank you, Gayatri Ma. Now I ask you, Ramji, what do you gather? Is there a thought flow or 10th is a standalone?
No, there is a thought flow. There is a thought flow. Because
Right.
I was worried that 10 is standalone. So I wanted to ask you how 10 can be standalone. But I think now it is clear that 8, 9, 10 are interrelated.
Right.
There
In
is a flow. Yeah.
few verses also there's a continuity. Now, keeping the context in mind, what does the word prayana kale, the time of death, what is it talking about here? What death is he talking about?
He is talking of the physical death.
No, sir. He
No?
is not talking of the physical death here. Here he is talking about, sir, if the physical death occurs, would it not be the end of this birth? This is the end.
Correct.
Then we are, remember the two schools of thought? What are the two schools of thought? No, we are not talking of rebirth and all here. The two schools of thought which say that you can attain realization even when you're alive, which is known as
That is
With-
that
or
open eye meditation and closed
Jivan
eye
Mukta.
meditation finally.
Jivan Mukti means only when you die you attain moksha.
Right.
Videha Mukti says that you can live and yet attain moksha or salvation and continue to live until there's a physical death.
Okay.
You don't need to physically die to attain realization. Now, what is the fallacy in going by the second school of thought, which is Jivan Mukti? That means you have to physically die to attain realization. If I have to physically die to attain realization, that means these shastras, that which we are following the wisdom, means this is not the wisdom of a realized soul. That is very difficult for me to relate to, that this is not a person of realization. He doesn't know what he is talking. It is just a speculation at its best. It can't be. If a person who has climbed the Mount Everest, the peak, the summit, and then comes and talks about it to me, it has a credibility because this man actually scaled that mountain. I don't want somebody sitting at a base camp and speculating what could be the experience of climbing the Everest because of doing a videographic study. Through satellite, he has studied how the mountain is giving me. I don't want to know that graphic description of what Mount Everest is. I want to hear from a person who scaled it. Isn't it, sir? Isn't there greater credibility one who has experienced it? So therefore, Vedantin, we would go by the school of thought which says that you can attain realization even when you're alive and continue to live a life as a normal person. Nothing changes. But your perception to life obviously changes. You will continue to live a life 10, 20, 30 years. Remember, we give the explanation of prarabdha vasanas for that. I don't want to slip into that. Now coming back to the question, prayana kale the time of death refers to what death? It is not the death of the physical body, it is the death of your ego.
Yeah.
Because he has prescribed meditation, he has prescribed tools to meditate, he is assuming you have meditated and you come to the pinnacle, the last journey of your spiritual progression. The last journey, last stages is where the ego dies. There is no more individuality. So the final stages of meditation is what he's talking about. A passage from limitation, the passage from mortality to immortality. The last passage. It's been a long voyage. So the last stages of your spiritual journey is what he's mentioning here. Now they leave it open-ended so that you are made to think. Again and again we keep saying it. Kadandi? Unless until we are forced to think, otherwise it's spoon feeding. So they don't spoon feed us. You're expected to understand all this. I'm glad I clarified it. Are you okay, sir, now?
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. So at the time of death, with a steady mind, unswerving mind. So even at the time of death, he's talking about an unswerving mind. Even at the last stages of meditation, he's talking about the need to keep the mind steady, which means the accent is on preparation, preparation, preparation. Whenever they talk of meditation, he talks of keeping the mind steady. You must, if your mind is not steady, you are unfit to meditate. Don't meditate to keep the mind steady. You're putting the cart before the horse. Only a steady mind can meditate. You don't meditate to keep the mind steady. There's a false logic in that. It can't be done that way. Because an unprepared mind, an unhealthy mind is unsteady, means it wanders, it vacillates. Your mind is not here. Your mind is never with you, so it vacillates. And when the mind is steady, it becomes, you develop bhakti. So bhakti is a consequence of keeping your mind steady. I want you all to rationalize this concept. When your mind is steady, you develop bhakti, you develop devotion. Please explain. Shivaji, boliye. Solunga sir, what do you understand by a steady mind develops devotion?
Only a steady mind, there is a possibility of doing something. When it's already not steady, there's no way that you can anchor on something.
Perfect.
It is like being in the present moment now, right now, just now with you with the concept. At every given moment, be with it. Right? Your mind is steady.
Now you are being very general that, right, only when your mind is steady, it can be anchored onto something.
Yes.
But how do you justify that with your mind becoming steady, bhakti kindles? How do you justify that?
I think then only the possibility arises. Only when this particular thing is addressed, then you have a possibility of bhakti, jnana. All the margams can make some sense. Only when you are
Generalizing. He is only clearly saying, sir, idu surgery madri sir. You have to only clip that particular muscle. Everywhere you're cutting and clipping and going on everywhere. You have to stick to that.
நான் கதை பண்றேன் சார். கதை பண்றேன்.
கொலை பண்றீங்க நீங்களா? இது கொலை.
கதை.
என்ன மேசக்கர் இது? நான் சும்மா இது சிம்பிளா சொல்றேன், கேக்குறேன். Steady mind inculcates devotion. Explain. You are very right in your saying that only when your mind is steady you can anchor onto something. When your mind is unsteady, what happens? It is helter-skelter.
Everywhere. It's everywhere.
So you can't focus your mind on something.
Yes.
Shivaji. Rajima, boliye. Use the mic and speak, please. How do you say? Was it on all the while?
Yes. Rio?
Yeah.
So it is completely without doubts, Guruji, that when the mind is steady, you're without any doubts, and that develops devotion, single-pointed devotion. Could that be the reason?
Rajima, could you hear her? Right. She's saying that it's maybe because it's beyond doubts, is it? Okay. I wouldn't really connect the dots that way. I'm just trying to see what's the cause, the effect. He's saying, because with steady mind and devotion. So how is that? Am I pronouncing the name correctly? Bhutalingam. Right. You're right, that mind, when it is steady, it does not oscillate, it doesn't waver. As Shivaji said, your mind gets fixed, transfixed on something. But how do you develop devotion? And in fact, in the recent classes also we took an example, a very powerful example, that would help you rationalize with this. That would help you rationalize with this. Ashama, pata hai ma? How do you develop bhakti?
The only thought that comes to my mind is प्रेम से भक्ति होती है.
प्रेम से भक्ति होती है. प्रेम is a love, is an identification. Your mind has fallen in love. In fact, that's what we're saying. When your mind becomes steady, you fall in love with divinity. Yes. See, when your feelings are going towards something higher, you have
of anything else. You can't think of anything else.
Yes, that's becoming steady. When your mind becomes steady, you don't think of anything else. But then how do you develop devotion?
Faith, Shraddha.
In fact, I would never answer that way, but I would like to answer this concept with an example. Example is always given to substantiate a point, but I would give an example to explain this. Before that, I think it is Soumyama, she's logging in from another instrument. Yeah, she wants to say something. Yes, Soumyama. Thanks, Ashama.
We'll develop oneness, Guruji. Oneness.
You develop
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can develop oneness.
Develop oneness. Right. See, I'm being very strict to the question. How does steadfastness, a steady mind rather, develops bhakti, devotion? Any idea, Reddy Garu? It's there.
Guruji, here it is been connected with the sentence at the time of death with a steady mind and devotion.
Comma on, sir. There's a comma after at the time of death.
Right.
At the time of death.
At the time of death.
With steady mind and devotion.
So we are saying that how the steady mind will develop the devotion.
Correct. Now, just to answer this, what is the opposite of a steady mind?
Wavering.
A wavering mind. So what is the characteristics of a wavering mind?
Anxiety, uncertainties, where you are not stable.
Okay, now what makes the mind unsteady?
The worldly affairs.
What makes the mind unsteady? What's the cause of unsteadiness of the mind? If there is no belief on God. No, we're not talking of the belief here, but I'm saying the very nature of the mind. The mind can either be steady or unsteady. He's saying a steady mind develops devotion. An unsteady mind, what does it develop?
So unsteady could be because of your ego?
A mind, sir, unsteady mind is, as we said, it is wavering. It is running everywhere.
Right.
It's like a horse which is not under control. It runs helter-skelter. Now, what is the cause of the mind which is wandering? Is because of your own desires. An extroverted mind is unsteady, is indisciplined. An extroverted mind cannot be kept calm. A mind which is extroverted means it's full of desires. The more desires you have, your mind runs helter-skelter. It can't be sitting calm at a place. It's not mature. But as you offload the mind of all the desires, the worldly desires, you're very comfortable. I don't know how many of you are comfortable just to be at a place all by yourself without the world disturbing or you connecting with the world. None of these gadgets, none of these tools, nothing. And yet you can just be by yourself, all by yourself. Can your mind remain steady? If it can, it's because you are introverted. You don't need the world. Your mind is very mature. So the cue is, as you become more introverted, the mind becomes more steady. The opposite is when your mind is extroverted, it's unsteady. Means it's running all over. Now the example I said I will take is a lamp in a flickering place vis-a-vis a lamp in a windless place. The lamp flickers in a place which is full of wind.
Of desires.
The winds are the passions and desires. If the lamp is the mind, when there's too much of wind, what happens? The lamp flickers. And flickers, what happens? It is not pointing upwards. It is swinging, distorted. There is no light. And with the wind being powerful, it puts off the very flame itself. But when the very same lamp, it doesn't have the passions. The winds don't come and disturb. It's exactly like a lamp in a jar. When the wind is cut out, what happens? Where does the lamp shoot?
Shoots up.
Shoots upwards. So a steady mind will only go up towards the God, towards the higher. Steady mind develops devotion. Example, lamp in a windless place, seals it. So none of us are at this stage, because this is the final spiritual journey at the depth of our ego. See, the ego is almost nullified, annihilated. Are we there at that stage? Venkatramji, are you there at a stage where your ego is completely annihilated?
No.
So, all of us are in a relative stage of being swayed by the passions and emotions and the desires within, isn't it?
Yes.
It looks like today he's in Maun Vrat.
Yes, Guruji.
Yeah, yes, Guruji, we hear that. We heard that. But I'm saying you're doing Maun Vrat today. Only one word answers you're giving. But Karunama didn't give you food, is it?
Oh, because I've been speaking all the week. So,
You've been speaking whole week, understandable. So you are able to relate to the concept. Even though it is spoken in their contemporary language, we are trying to make it in our contemporary language. He is talking of the state, we are talking it as a practice. Now you are not able to keep your mind steady because of your desires which make the mind run in different directions. See, you can be sitting in the most fanciest mall in the city with every possible attraction which can draw your attention. Imagine you sitting there and meditating. You will be the center of attraction there. Just go to the mall. You don't even need a cushion like this. Simply sit in a corner, squat, close your eyes and start meditating. Everybody around you will be watching what is going on this. Like everybody is running around like a pillar without a post. They're running helter-skelter. Imagine, not to put a drama, but genuinely. Says that. Satsangatve nisangatvam. Bhajavandam, it's a reference to it. But imagine, you are there and yet all the attractions don't distract you. Your mind is so steady. So a person would definitely know to what extent he has kept his mind steady or to what extent is his mind unsteady. You should know. You would know. So he's only saying with a steady mind and devotion, Setuji all got a chance, they went to Tiruvannamalai. You go to Ramana Ashram, they went there for a few days to spend time there. What is the environment there? Is it conducive for meditation? Vis-a-vis, you get a chance to go to Las Vegas. Venkatramji, you are not supposed to mute yourself. Quickly muting yourself. Whether you would go to Ramana Ashram or Las Vegas.
yeah, if you go to Ramana Ashram, obviously the ambience there would motivate you to meditate. Las Vegas, I have not been, so I would really not.
You told me to go to the mall and meditate, so I have chosen to go to Las Vegas and meditate there.
You can, if you are very, very powerful and if you can control the mind, then probably you can do it anywhere. You would not require that kind of an ambience. Yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter where you are, isn't it? But an introverted mind will only go towards the higher. An extroverted mind will only rush into the world.
Yes.
To the extent you're extroverted, you will run into the world. To the extent you're introverted, you will go inward. And you'll create opportunities where you can create an environment where you can revel on the self, revel in the self. So it's a perfect way of measuring how introverted am I, how extroverted am I. Here is a verge of it. And then he says, united by the power of yoga. The power of yoga refers to the buddhi, the intellect. Fixing prana. Prana, even though translated as life breath, prana symbolizes activity in a broad sense. So fixing prana in the middle of two eyebrows. Usually they do this. While they are meditating, you are told to concentrate in between the two eyebrows. So imagine, Pushpama, imagine you are sitting with eyes open and trying to concentrate, because this is the text here. Bhruvor madhye pranamaveshya samyak. The Gita says, so those who teach will say this. This is what the text is saying. That's what he's saying. Imagine you're trying to concentrate on in between the gap between the two eyebrows. Imagine you try, all of you try doing that. Ushama, please show us how you do it.
Guruji, I have tried sometimes. It causes a lot of
migraine. But there could be other reasons you can have migraine also, no?
Maybe, but particularly when I do this, I will not be able to do for more than hardly a few minutes, very little time.
Correct. So it is not to be taken literally. What we are trying to say is, it is not that you're trying to strain your eyeballs to concentrate on the gap between the eyebrows. It is ridiculous. You will get a severe splitting headache. It's not something which you may do when you're doing eye exercises. You can do a little bit here and there, but not to meditating. Imagine sitting trying to focus there. You'll go mad. It's not to be taken literally. Therefore, the interpretation is prana symbolizes activity. So fixing the prana in between the two eyebrows. What is it trying to do? Two eyebrows. What is that? Hariji, I hope you are not doing meditation now. What does the two eyebrows symbolize, Hariji?
It is concentration. The eyebrow that you are trying to bring it closer, so that single pointed concentration.
One more chance.
The flickering mind is, you are bringing from both the eyebrow, you are trying to bring it to a single pointed meditation.
No, sir. Let me clarify. When you trying to look in between the two eyebrows, you're trying to look up, isn't it? There's an attempt to automatically your head tilts upwards. So when you do that, looking up, naturally you develop an attitude of devotion. You look up towards God. So the one act is, by doing that, you develop a bhavana of bhakti or devotion. Now, between the two eyebrows symbolizes two thoughts. Give me the pen and the access to that. Now, Now, the reference to the eyebrow and the wait. So the eyebrow here refers to the sound while you're meditating, especially the state where the practitioner is, where he has completely done all his sadhana in the last stages of his journey. What he is trying to his mind is completely introverted. So there is no other thought in his head except realization. Now when the practitioner is chanting Om, so sound is Om. So if you just listen to my chant, Om, Om, Om. I keep repeating the mantra again and again. Now, what do you notice, Ramji? What do you notice? What did you notice when I was chanting 3 times? When I chanted the mantra home, what did you notice?
I noticed that there is an elongation in the end. Om, that sound. Not like Om. It is Om.
Oh, so you notice the
It actually has I don't know. I think that is the right way to say Om, and that actually has an impact on the mind.
I didn't know that.
That's what I heard.
Right, sir. Sir, you are not in your normal flow today, sir.
Yes, sir.
The best of batsmen, their days, they don't play well,
We are edging too many deliveries today.
Never mind.
Getting caught in the slips. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, Sanjay, when I chanted the Om thrice, what did you notice?
The gaps in between each chanting.
The silence between the chants, Ramji. When I chanted Om, 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 every time I chant, there is a silence between the chant. There is a silence. In Sanskrit, it is known as matra, and this is known as a matra, and again this is a matra. So imagine a prayer or meditation is actually a continuation of matra, amatra, matra, amatra, matra, amatra, which is sound, silence, sound, silence, sound, silence. Now, what the text is saying, you fix your prana in between the 2 eyebrows. The eyebrow, in between the 2 eyebrows, Ramji, what is there in between the 2 eyebrows?
Between the 2 sounds, there is silence.
Silence. So, while you meditate, as you evolve into meditation, now again I'm chanting Ramji. Hopefully this time you will pass. Now please listen. Om. 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 Now I ask you, sir, what have you noticed?
You're increasing the length of silence.
The silence between the two matra, between the two chant is being elongated. There's a longer gap where you remain in that silence. There's a longer gap, you remain in the silence, and until the very end of it, there is no more chant. What remains is total silence. You come to a point where there is no more chant at all. Only amatra remains, only total silence. But you reach that state of total silence by concentrating between the two thoughts. Between the two thoughts, there is silence. But the problem is, in the traffic of thoughts, we fail to realize the silence that exists. An extroverted mind has got so many thoughts rushing, he is not able to realize that there is a silence between the two thoughts. But as the traffic slows down, late into the night, the cars that roll by will be far and few. Vis-a-vis a traffic in a midday peak hour, bumper to bumper. There is no gap at all. So the traffic of our mind is, so many thoughts are rushing by, there's no chance to keep the mind in between the two thoughts. This is what is to be done while you meditate, is to concentrate in between the two eyebrows. But now I ask you all, is it possible when there's a traffic of thoughts to sit and meditate? You're not able to keep the mind free of thoughts. So how can you concentrate? How can you fix your attention on that silence? Therefore, the preliminary qualification to meditate is to first control your mind, make it steady. Then only get into meditation. And if you do that, in doing that, he says such a person reaches the supreme resplendent being. Then only you reach the goal of realization. And how do I remind you of the goal of realization? Somanama, give her the mic, Vijay. How am I reminding you and how are you reminding me of the goal of realization? You can answer that question by just looking at me. The question The question is, how am I reminding you of the goal of realization? And when I say that, I am reminding you right now, and you are reminding me right now. So when I look at you, you remind me, and when you look at me, I remind you. How is it? Okay, what do you see on my face? Do you see a tilak or something on my forehead?
Yes, buttu.
A buttu is there, a chandan. I see a bindi, a kumkum on your forehead. So when I look at you, I'm instantly drawn to that mark on your forehead. And where is the mark? In between the two eyebrows. So by concentrating in between the two eyebrows, you get to the self. That is the path to realization. So in fact, in these couple of mantras, is given us the entire journey to realization. The question Rajima is asking is, in japa, is the accent more on sound than silence? Yes, it is. The beads are too closely knit. So when you turn the bead, you are meant to synchronize the turning of the bead to the chant. Now that turning of the bead can be paced out. You don't have to rush through it. You can slowly turn the bead. So if your chant is mellowed down, slow in pace, to that extent, the bead also turning will slow down. It doesn't have to be like counting a bag of notes, You don't have to do that. You don't have to constantly keep, you don't have to do that. It can always be as slowed down. In fact, the more introverted you are, that slow is the chant. So the silence is longer. Just put yourself through test. Test yourself without getting frustrated. End of the meditation, you should not get frustrated. It should be an effortless exercise. Not once in a while. Do continuously for the next 10 days. Then you know how ready you are to it. Yes, ma? Can you give her the mic, ma?
Harivam Guruji, suppose if you chant Om for 10 times, automatically mind will come to control? Because of the
chant?
Chant and silent sound.
See, if the mind is mature, then it will chant. Then it will cooperate. But if the mind is immature, it will be that much more difficult to get the cooperation of the mind, because the mind has its own insecurities, it has its own distractions, it is attachments. While you're meditating, let's say your granddaughter has to come home at 7 o'clock in the evening from work. And just when you are about to sit in the evening for meditation, you're told the caretaker in the house, hey, make sure the dinner is prepared, granddaughter is coming. 7:05, 7:10, 7:15. The doorbell did not ring, the driver did not come, granddaughter has not reached home. I tell you, continue meditating. You are actually meditating on your granddaughter actually.
While doing japa also, Guruji, suppose if you are in a hurry, we will twist very fast.
Oh, is it? If you are in a hurry, the japa will be rolling faster. So it is the accent is on preparing the mind. If the mind is light, it will take off. If the mind is heavy, it will be grounded. Heavy with desires or light with desires. And it's a slow maturity. As you evolve, you reach that state. Let's chant 9 and 10 once. I think they are very... In fact, you would note. Did you note? Don't ask me what. Ushama, did you note? Why 9, 10 and 11 are very special? Very important.
Basically, they are connected to each other, Guruji, and the meaning flows. When
your husband says they're not connected, you say connected. What is going on?
that is my opinion, Guruji. And,
I know that opinion.
And the beauty of the words, the beauty of the language, it is.
Okay, now you please be online, don't mute yourself. I will chant 8 and 9 for you. Gayatri Ma, put mantra 8 please, verse 8. So you must be perceptible to all these things. That's what I'm saying. Abhyasa yoga yuktena cetasa nanyagaminam paramam purusham divyam yati parthanu chintayan. 9. Kavim Puranamanushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredhyah Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Yes. Now what do you notice?
There is a comparative example given in the second one, Guruji. So that
you chant panliya.
And there is a difference in the meter also.
You have become too intellectual.
No, Guruji, I was just listening to you and trying to.
You heard me, no?
Yes.
What do you notice? Ma, as a musician, you should know.
As a
musician, what do you notice?
There's a difference in meter between the first one and the second one.
There is a change in the meter.
Yeah, yeah.
So 9, 10 has a particular meter, and the 12th onwards the meter changes.
Yes, yes.
So by putting these verses in a different meter,
he says the essence of the whole thing is in that.
Verses. In the meter change itself, there's an importance. So there's a break in the monotony. You should first notice that. Correct, Ma? So that's why I said these verses are very, very important. By heart these verses. In fact, soon we want you to start taking chanting classes here, Ma. I will enroll to your class first. Okay, wa? Yes, Hariji. Whatever you ask, Harish is going to answer the question.
No. Then I don't want to ask.
Look at him, Harish. He doesn't even want to ask the question. What is it?
That question is to you.
Yes, please. Go.
The verse number 9.
Verse 9, okay.
Yeah, he is an effulgent as sun and beyond darkness. The expression beyond darkness, if in the physical sense, when the sun shines, I am able to see the daytime. And I am able to see everything because of the light. Whereas when the sun sets, or when there is no sun, there is darkness. And I am able to see the darkness without any light. Can I say that I am able to feel the darkness because of my consciousness? Because I don't have a light, but I still can see the darkness.
You don't have to wait for sunset for that. Close your eyes, it will be darkness.
Yeah, any darkness for that matter. Is it,
but here it is not referring to the physical light or the physical darkness. See, it's only symbolic to ignorance. Tamasa, even though it's interpreted as darkness, it's ignorance. So take it poetically, not literally.
No, that I understand. One is the darkness is ignorance.
Yes.
Knowledge and beyond the known and the unknown. But when we physically take as darkness also, I am able to see, I'm now talking only the relative sense. I am able to see the darkness because of my consciousness. I am able to feel it.
You can say so. Yes, you can say that.
Okay.
We'll chant 10 and we'll conclude. प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।